Welcome back to Inside the Trailer Sports Podcast, your source for news coverage, wild takes, guaranteed bets, and other types of sports games. Today is the NBA trade deadline. A lot of moves today. I know you came here and you're like, there's a lot to cover. It's going to be a long episode.
There is.
What are you thinking, bro? What are you thinking? The first one was Luka trade, and we went over that in our last video.
Yes.
But then there was some more after that.
It was a lot. I think there was a total of 8 or 9 All-Stars that got moved in this trade deadline just within the past 2 or 3 days. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unfold, and what that means for the rest of the season and going forward in the future. So, I think that we should just jump right into it.
I agree, man.
Again, there's a lot. I think the first one I want to start with would be, let's start right before the Luka trade. This one was February 1st. Let's start with that. Utah and the LA Clippers made a trade. Utah receives PJ Tucker, Mo Bamba, who ends up getting waived, a second-round pick and cash considerations. And the Clippers get back Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills. Nothing too crazy in terms of star players getting moved.
Right, yeah.
I think the Clippers get some more depth that they might need going to the rest of the season. Utah is kind of, still in that rebuilding type phase. They got PJ Tucker, but we'll find out that he eventually gets moved again. Bamba gets moved, or he gets waived. I mean, I guess they get cash considerations, and realistically, all they get out of that is a second-round pick. But again, you're building your team,
yeah.
So you're getting those picks. I guess is going to help you in the end. They dump off, some assets that aren't going to necessarily help them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a depth piece to start us out.
Right.
It's funny too because directly after this trade is the bigger trade in Luka.
Yep.
So this one just gets overshadowed, and really not talked about at all. But I mean, What is there to talk about anyway?
Right.
So.
Nothing too much. But again, then we go to the Luka trade. We won't dive into that, but we already know about that. Crazy stuff. Again, check out the video that we posted about the Luka trade if you want to see us break it down and why Luka got traded as well. So lots to unfold there. That's got its own whole video right there.
Yes, it does.
But again, we'll move on. Another blockbuster trade that happened soon right after. This one was huge. This was a 3-team trade between San Antonio, Sacramento, and Chicago. San Antonio receives De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. Sacramento gets Zach LaVine. Excuse me, I might botch the pronunciation. Sidi Sissoko. 2025 protected first-round pick via the Hornets, a 2027 first-round pick from the Spurs, a 2031 first-round pick from the Timberwolves, 2025 second-round pick from the Bulls, 2028 second-round pick from the Nuggets, and a 2028 second-round pick, and the Kings got their own pick back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Chicago gets Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a 2025 first-round pick back from the Spurs. So, big trade right here. Obviously, the highlight right here is De'Aaron Fox is going to the Spurs.
Yeah.
He's going to go play with Wemby. And he's going to be able to learn from Chris Paul now, too. I think easily the biggest winner right here is...
It's got to be the Spurs.
It's got to be the Spurs just for, just getting De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
They're building a really good young team right there. De'Aaron Fox is still young, and he's still getting better, even though he's probably just in his prime now. Wemby hasn't even touched his prime. He's not even touched his ceiling yet. He's only going to continue to get better. He's only in his second year. And the Spurs didn't have to give up too much.
No.
And they're still kept their young core, which is awesome. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I think one thing that's interesting is that De'Aaron Fox probably would have signed with the Spurs anyway when his contract ended. So it is a little bit confusing on that aspect. But then again, maybe this is them saying, we want to push for a championship now.
Right.
Because, they're going to be a big underdog going into the playoffs with teams like the Cavs, the Celtics, the Lakers now with Luka. So there's a bunch of other teams that are better than them right now. So I find it interesting why they made the move, but I understand it. You're getting Fox, who wants to be there and will pair nicely with Wemby, and you don't really give up too much. Right. I'm more confused about the Bulls' involvement getting rid of LaVine.
I think LaVine was due for a trade. I think they kind of needed to go into full rebuild and kind of just restart. Again, LaVine's a great player, and I think Sacramento's getting a really good player in Zach LaVine. They moved De'Aaron Fox, but they've made some other pieces, some other moves that I think will help them go into the rest of the season. We'll get into that as we go, but I think Zach LaVine is the biggest one, and I think that's a huge step for them. Bringing in another really good guard as well, another super athletic guard. Zach LaVine's going to do nice in Sacramento, but Chicago, again, they're in that rebuild phase now where they're getting guys like Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, relatively younger guys, and they get a first-round pick. Their first-round pick back as well. Yep. They're looking for the future. These guys aren't going to necessarily be the future of Chicago, but
no.
You're getting something. The 2025 first-round pick that you get in your own pick back is definitely huge. It's definitely massive for them.
Yeah.
So I can't say I necessarily hate this for Chicago, but I understand it.
Yeah, I get it, and I think Sacramento and San Antonio definitely won this trade by miles. Well, not miles, but they won the trade over Chicago, right?
Yeah.
But I would say overall, this is a pretty balanced trade. I think overall, it's a balanced trade.
Yeah. I can't say there's anyone who necessarily got fleeced. I mean, Sacramento got a haul of picks, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, that's a good part.
And that's going to be good for them. They got a couple of first-round picks. They got 3 first-round picks out of that.
Yeah.
And 3 second-round picks, and then Zach LaVine as well. So, good trade. Another big-name trade.
Yeah, I like it.
We'll go into another one here, just referencing off of CBS's sports article about all the trades. So I might miss one or two, but we'll go back to Shams and just make sure we recap on all of them. Another one that's not so big, Dallas and Philly. Dallas acquires Caleb Martin in a 2030 second-round pick. In return, Philly gets Quentin Grimes in a 2025 second-round pick that was originally the 76ers. So nothing too big. I think the biggest key here is obviously Caleb Martin, a good role player, good depth piece going to Dallas, filling in that guard role for, Luka leaving.
Yeah.
Kyrie's still going to be there, so Kyrie's going to, again, be the predominant ball handler, but having Caleb Martin, I think, is going to be good for them.
Yeah.
On a depth aspect.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't know how I feel because I see Dallas fans upset about the move. This was another one that was kind of overshadowed by the whole Luka thing. But Quentin Grimes was promising.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Caleb Martin, don't get me wrong, pretty good depth piece. He'll come off the bench and he'll be a solid player, right? But I don't know. I getting rid of a promising player that had a role with the team, it's just a little weird. I'm not going to say it's a bad move.
Right.
But there was some Dallas fans that were upset about the idea. So
no, I don't blame them necessarily, too. I mean, again, Caleb Martin isn't super, super young either now.
No.
But I think, if we go back to the video, again, that we posted the other day about Luka, we mentioned the Dallas that wanted to kind of be in a win-now mode.
Yep.
So maybe this is Dallas's way of saying, we're win now. We're going to go get guys who might help us win now versus down the road. I don't know. Again, is it the smartest idea? Probably not.
Probably not.
But I don't know. I'm not an NBA general manager, so what does my opinion matter? But anyways, let's move on. Another 4-team trade right here. So this one's pretty big. We've got bigger names in here.
Yep.
So Milwaukee, they acquire Kyle Kuzma, Jericho Sims, 2025 second-round pick, and draft rights to Mateus Lesort.
I don't know.
Okay, so another big name, Kyle Kuzma there, Jericho Sims, good big man depth for Milwaukee. Washington acquires Chris Middleton, NBA All-Star, AJ Johnson, the 2028 pick swap, which I believe is with Milwaukee, if I'm correct. It doesn't necessarily say on here. I'd have to double check. They get $1 million from the Bucks. New York, they get DeLon Wright, draft picks to Hugo Besson, and $2 million from the Bucks. San Antonio gets Patrick Baldwin Jr. and $4.13 million from the Bucks. So again, big key highlights. One right here is Milwaukee getting Kyle Kuzma, Jericho Sims,
definitely.
and Washington getting Chris Middleton. You know what I mean, and AJ Wright, and then DeLon Wright going to New York. So
yeah, I think I like this way more from Milwaukee than Washington here.
Absolutely.
Because as nice as it is to get Middleton, he's so injury prone. Mm-hmm. He's never on the court.
Right.
And I don't know if I like this for Washington, who is way more of a young team than the Bucks. So I don't know. Kuzma was inconsistent with the Wizards. Right. So I understand that. Like, he would have games where he puts up 31 points and games where he put up 7.
Right.
So like, maybe you're trying to ditch inconsistency and get some more consistency in, but where's the consistency if the dude's not on the floor?
Right.
So I don't know. This one's interesting. I like Milwaukee winning this trade. Getting a piece like Kuzma, maybe he can flourish in Milwaukee.
Right. I agree with you. Again, I think Milwaukee definitely wins this trade. Kyle Kuzma, I think, can help out. Jericho Sims is going to be a really good depth piece.
Yep.
Washington, I don't necessarily say I love this for them. You get Chris Middleton, again, former NBA All-Star, but he's getting up there in age. You know, he's a little fragile now. I don't think this fits your timeline necessarily, but again, I guess you bring in some veteran leadership into the locker room for a bunch of young guys going forward. Maybe you try to keep them around. Maybe you move them. I don't know necessarily. I move them forward like in the offseason because obviously the trade deadline's over now. But I don't know. I guess they were trying to give up Kyle Kuzma, so I guess you get him out. You get that contract out. I just want to kind of a little off topic about Kyle Kuzma. Something funny was him in Washington when he tweeted out a while ago. He said, "At this point, it's trying not to be that team." Talking about just being the worst team, and you know, he was clearly on the worst team, and they were playing terrible. I just thought that was kind of funny. It's something I think about when I think of Kyle Kuzma.
I always think of that too. I'm not gonna lie.
But moving on, trade nothing too big right here. It's Houston and Boston. Jaden Springer goes to Houston in a 2030 second round pick, and Boston gets a future second round pick. Now CBS says this is the trade, but if I remember Shams tweeting, I think it's a little more. I could be wrong though. I will come back. I think that is what Shams says, but I thought I saw there was more pieces to it. But we'll just roll with this for what it is now. You know, Houston gets Jaden Springer, a really good player, really good depth piece. Hasn't been able to shine really as much on the Celtics. Obviously, he's on a stacked team, but
of course,
you know, Houston's still really young, so maybe Jaden can kind of find a better role there. Even though Houston's, you know, shown to be a lot better this season instead of just being kind of poverty like they were.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe Jaden can find a good depth piece on that and kind of good role. So I don't know. Best of luck to him.
Yeah, and I like Houston making this move because it doesn't hurt them, to be completely honest.
I don't think it hurts either team.
No, it doesn't. It actually helps both teams. This is a very beneficial trade. Boston gets out of tax relief, and Houston gets a promising young defender who can also shoot and can hopefully shine on a team that has less of a stacked team than the Celtics. So it's a good trade for both. It sucks if you're a Boston fan and you like Springer. Like, it just sucks kind of getting rid of him for a pick swap.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you like him as a player, you should be happy for him for going to a team, and he'll probably do way better than he was.
He probably will. He'll probably see a lot more time on the court. So.
Yes.
Happy for him, as you know, as a Celtics fan.
Yeah.
I hope the best for him. But moving on, speaking of Celtics, former Celtics, OKC and New Orleans makes a trade. Nothing too crazy. Daniel Tice is going to Oklahoma City in 2031 second round pick. In return, New Orleans doesn't get anything. Just getting him off the roster, unloading that.
He kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie. This time it's just like, bro, he's been passed around so much, and just like,
he has been passed around a lot. I mean, I still like Daniel Tice. I think he is good depth.
Yeah, I guess.
Again, this is all Oklahoma really needs. They didn't really need to make this move necessarily, but again, you add more depth into that team that's already going to be fighting to get to the NBA championship.
Is it weird?
The NBA Finals, excuse me.
Yeah, and I get that. Is it weird to think that I like the trade more for the Pelicans? We got nothing out of it, by the way.
I mean, I can't necessarily say no. I mean, you just offload that contract. I mean, again, they make moves, which we'll get into, that you kind of seem like they're looking towards the future and kind of building around again.
And I get that, yeah.
But we'll get back to that. We'll move on to something a little more of substance here.
Yes.
Sacramento back in the picture again, and I want to get back to Sacramento making some good moves. Sacramento acquires Valanciunas from Washington, and in return they trade again who they just acquired, Sidi Sissoko.
Yep.
For a 2028 second round pick and a 2029 second round pick as well. I like this move for Sacramento a lot. You add more big man depth as well to pair along with Sabonis. That's going to be really good. I like that a lot, and you got Levine there too. I like that a lot. You gave up De'Aaron Fox, who was really good, but you're spreading the wealth a little more around your team now. And I like that. I think that's going to be good for Sacramento in terms of making a playoff push. They're getting a little more, again, they're kind of spread out a little bit. They're uploading more like big man depth. They're getting another good guard in Zach LaVine. I like this for Sacramento. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I like it too. I think Valanciunas, he's not like the greatest big man, but if you're building around Sabonis, he's definitely a super reliable backup option.
Yeah.
To be on the court when Sabonis is tired and he's on the bench. So I like it for them. You don't give up much. You give up Sissoko, who is, I mean, at this point, kind of irrelevant. Doesn't mean that he won't be in the future, but right now he's irrelevant.
Yep.
And you get rid of 2 second-round picks, and picks are kind of meaningless. Picks are always trade bait. I don't mind it at all. I like it a lot. That's probably the value that you should trade for Valanciunas. So you made the move during a time where you needed it, and I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So not much to be said about that. I like it.
Yeah. No, I think that's good for Sacramento.
Yeah.
But moving on. Another big trade. One of the bigger ones.
One of the biggest ones, yeah.
This is one of the biggest ones after the Luka one. We got a 5-team trade right here. 5 teams. How often do we see a 5-team trade?
Yeah.
Now, big names right here to go throw off. Golden State acquires Jimmy Butler. That saga finally ends. We've talked about that one. It's finally over. Miami acquires Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, Kyle Anderson, 2025 Warriors first-round pick that's a top 10 protected. Detroit acquires Dennis Schroeder, Lindy Waters the third, 2027 second-round pick via the 76ers, and a 2031 second-round pick via the 76ers as well. Utah acquires KJ Martin and Josh Richardson, and Philly doesn't get anything besides just giving up pieces.
Yeah.
Again, a lot to unfold here. A big trade. Obviously, the biggest name is Jimmy Butler here.
Oh yeah.
Again,
definitely.
the saga's finally over. I was kind of surprised that the Warriors ended up trading for him. I saw reports saying that they were out of the market of trading for him, and because he wasn't willing to sign an extension. And little do I know, he ends up signing a 2-year extension with them. A nice little extension as well too. So again, that one was kind of unexpected, but this is another big trade. So I'd love to hear your outtake on that.
Yeah, usually when there's these 5-team trade type of things, there's usually 2 main teams, and the rest of the teams are involved are helping with money or getting rid of players that affect their salaries, and it's all about money shifting, right? But
right.
the 2 main guys here, or two main teams, is Golden State obviously and Miami.
Correct.
I think it's sneaky value for Miami to come away with Andrew Wiggins, the first, and I want to say PJ Tucker, but Kyle Anderson kind of also
I think we'll talk about them, but I think the both of them end up getting moved.
Yeah.
So realistically, they only get Wiggins in the first, but still,
good.
It's not bad after all that.
With no leverage.
After all that, it's not bad.
It's really not that bad. So I kind of like walking away with Wiggins, and recently he's been a monster. When given, he's had a lot of room to score points on Golden State. It's really just Curry there right now.
Right.
So he was able to show what he's capable of, and he can put up some points. I like him going to Miami, and I think he'll put up more points on Miami's roster. So coming away with that with no leverage is good for them.
Yeah.
You ultimately lose because you lose Jimmy Butler, but they've been losing for.
But you weren't going to have him anyway, so just getting Andrew Wiggins in that first round pick, that's a top 10 guaranteed. Yeah. That's really good for next season.
Top 10 protected.
Or protected, excuse me. Yeah. Top 10 protected, you're gonna be good. You'll be fine. Miami will be fine.
You'll be good, man.
They get rid of that saga. They're not gonna have to pay him anymore.
Good riddance, honestly.
Yeah, good riddance. I bet they're more than happy to be done with that. But again, we'll move on from that. Another big name all-star trade right here is Toronto, New Orleans. Brandon Ingram is going to Toronto.
Yay!
Yes, sir. And in return, New Orleans is going to get Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a 2026 first-round pick via the Pacers, and a second-round pick as well. So I like this for Toronto. They're starting to kind of build a core now. They're starting to get it. New Orleans dumps off Ingram. We talked about New Orleans getting rid of
in a rebuild.
Yeah, they're kind of in a rebuild mode a little bit. They're kind of resetting. They haven't gotten rid of Zion, so I don't know. I think I can't necessarily say a full rebuild, but they're trying to build kind of change it around a little bit, shift it around.
I agree.
Bruce Brown's a good piece for New Orleans as well. I like that as well. Kelly Olynyk, some depth.
That's probably the best piece.
That's definitely the best piece they got. But they got the 2026 first round pick as well, which is awesome, and they got the second round pick too.
Yeah.
I can't say this is a terrible trade for either side. But obviously, Toronto's getting an all-star in Brandon Ingram, so how can you not say that they won that?
Yeah, I mean, it really sucks that they're in a rebuild, and when a team rebuilds, this is what you got to do. You got to offload players that probably should get a little bit more value than what they go for. But again, you have no leverage. You're trying to rebuild. You have to get rid of the players in order to spark this new build on the team. You got to make these trades. I get it. I'm not super thrilled about the return, But I like this a lot for the Raptors. You do come away with Bruce Brown, which is like a good depth piece, and I like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully the pick ends up being something high. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know how that's gonna go. We don't know. But again, I think that's gonna be good. I think it's a good change for Brandon Ingram to move on.
I agree.
Moving on again. Another underrated team, another underrated trade that is that kind of gets hidden underneath all these all-star trades is the Lakers in Charlotte. We got Mark Williams going to the Lakers, and in return, Charlotte's going to get Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 first-round pick, and a 2030 pick swap. The Lakers, I think a big concern after trading AD was the big man depth.
Yep.
They've answered this now. If you go get Mark Williams, kind of an underrated center here, to fill in a nice role right there. And Charlotte, I think, gets back some good pieces right here too. Dalton Knecht, just about halfway through his rookie season, he's shown promise. He's been really good, and I think he's going to be able to show a lot more of that in Charlotte now with a lot more opportunities. Cam Reddish, another younger guy who's going to get a lot more opportunities as well. You get the 2031 first-round pick as well. You're not a great team, Charlotte. You're kind of at the bottom of the league for the past couple of years. Just, loading up on younger players and getting picks as well. I think this is really good for Charlotte. They move on from Mark Williams, but again, this was a problem that the Lakers needed to address, and they got it right here.
Yeah.
So I like this trade for both sides. I'm just surprised. I think the biggest surprise for me is that the Lakers would want to move on from Dalton Knecht so early.
Yeah, and I understand that was probably Charlotte's asking.
Yeah.
Point.
Probably.
They said if you want Mark Williams, you want the center to help you, spark this championship run that they're going for. Give us Dalton Knecht, and it sucks to get rid of him. It stings, but you got to give up promising players in order to get the piece that you want back. So this was a needed trade, and I applaud both teams for getting the value that they should from this trade. I like Charlotte getting a young player. They seem to be kind of building a young team anyway.
Yeah.
So honestly, good trade for Charlotte. Sucks to get rid of Mark Williams, and he's been also pretty promising. But overall, really balanced trade. I like it for both ends. This is one of those beneficial trades.
I like that a lot. And again, that's not going to be a trade that necessarily gets talked through between, like the Luka trade and De'Aaron Fox. But again, another really good trade right here. Moving on, another trade that's nothing too crazy. Washington and Philly. So Washington acquires Reggie Jackson, a 2026 first-round pick. It's the least favorable of the Clippers, Thunder, and the Rockets. And in return, Philly gets a 2027 second-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick as well, and two 2030 second-round picks. So I think, the key name here is Reggie Jackson getting moved, which is a piece for Philly. Goes to Washington. I don't think Washington's really going to do much there.
No.
It's just kind of pick swaps at this point. So I guess Washington gets a first-round pick, in 2 seasons. So
nice, Washington.
Good for them. Again, they're, they're not a good team, but they're, they get some more assets, so good for them.
I'll ask you: would you rather Reggie Jackson and a first-round pick, or basically 4 second-round picks?
I mean, if I'm Washington, I probably would want the first-round pick.
Yeah,
I think you kind of want to turn. I don't think you want to sit there in poverty.
No.
For the next couple of years until 2027, 2028, and just hope for your second-round picks. Like, no, if I'm them, you want the 2026 first-round pick. Maybe it's not this season; it's the season after. So maybe you could use that.
Yeah. I get it. I get that.
Moving on to our next trade, Phoenix and Charlotte. The other Martin brother gets moved, so Cody Martin is going to Phoenix as well. Excuse me, I'm definitely going to botch this pronunciation, so please bear with me.
Just say Micic, bro.
We'll say Micic. I'm not Vasil.
The name will be on the screen.
Micic. We'll just go Micic. I'm so sorry if you're watching this and I botched that.
Sorry, Micic.
But props to you. Good luck in Phoenix. And a 2026 second round pick as well. But also Charlotte gets a 2026 first round pick in Nurkic as well. So I think Charlotte, again, I think they might win this one. You offload Cody Martin, who, just kind of there. Yeah, LaMelo is the predominant ball handler. You didn't necessarily need him. Phoenix will get that depth, which they need. They need depth. Charlotte, they get Nurkic, another solid center as well to replace Williams, who just left. And you get a 2026 first-round pick. I think that's good for Charlotte. They're still young. They're still kind of rebuilding. They need to look forward to the future. So getting Nurkic can be another asset if you don't want to stick with him in the offseason.
Yep.
You can move him. Or, And you also got the 2026 first round pick, which you could move that or you could use it.
Yeah.
So I like this for Charlotte a lot.
It's clear what Charlotte is doing is like slowly turning the rebuild from young players into a team that is a lot more stable with the young players. So Nurkic obviously is a little bit more proven than Micic. Plus you get a first round pick, so you're continuing your rebuild. You're bringing some veteran presence that can show some of the young guns something. It sucks losing Micic because he was kind of putting up a lot of points, but then again he's on Charlotte, so he has the opportunity.
It's just gonna look better. Yeah,
it's gonna look better either way. Coming out with the first round pick is probably the best piece of this. Yeah, I like this for Charlotte. I also don't mind it for Phoenix.
Honestly. I don't mind it for Phoenix either. Again, Phoenix has had a problem with depth. Ever since making that, the big three with Bradley Beal, KD, and Devin Booker. So I think, getting a piece like Cody Martin could be good. So, yeah, I think that's that for that trade. But let's move on again. Another kind of a bigger trade, Cleveland and Atlanta. So Cleveland acquires DeAndre Hunter, and Atlanta acquires Karis LeVert, Niang, 2026 first round pick swap, a 2028 first round pick swap, and 3 second-round picks. That's a lot there that Atlanta's going to get.
Yes, it is.
But again, Cleveland stacks up on that already stacked roster, and they get DeAndre Hunter, who's going to be really good for that team. Who do you think kind of comes more as the gets a better return in this?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Honestly, I think it's even. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's tough. I like Atlanta picking up Niang as depth, right? I like that.
Yep.
And I guess Karis LeVert has depth too, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's capable of playing the starter role if you need him to. Plus 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. Hunter, obviously a great player, right? And he's averaging. I was just looking at it. He's averaging 19. 3 rebounds and 1.5 assists. Obviously, it's the points that matter. So I understand it for Cleveland. You're getting, they're pushing for a championship this season. So getting someone who can also score points along with everybody else, they're trying to be the Celtics, to be completely honest.
Right, exactly.
Where everyone can score points, and I get it. And you got to get rid of all these picks for it. So I'm gonna give the edge to Atlanta here.
Okay.
I don't think Hunter really puts them over the edge because I think Donovan Mitchell is capable of carrying your team when you need him to.
Absolutely.
We saw the other night Celtics versus the Cavs. Darius Garland was putting up some massive points too, and he can be a playmaker too. I think you could have ran with those 2 guys and bench guys in Niang and Karis LeVert and still been fine and kept all those picks. I understand the trade, but I don't think it needed to happen. If that makes sense.
No, I
don't hate it.
I don't hate it though.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I mean, Cleveland, I guess, just up front gets better.
Yeah.
But
that's the whole move. That's the move, though.
And that's the move. Again, we're going to stay on the Atlanta track. We're going to move on to our next trade. Atlanta's going to get from the Clippers. They're going to get Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. In return, the Clippers are going to get Bogdanovich, 2025 second-round pick from the Timberwolves, a 2026 second-round pick protected somewhere between 43 and 60 via the Grizzlies, and a 2027 second-round pick that the Clippers got back as well. So Atlanta's getting another player, another 2 good depth pieces as well, kind of. But they might get some more minutes now that they're in Atlanta.
Yep.
And the Clippers get Bogdanovich too, another great shooter right there, and they get a haul of picks as well. Something I want to kind of highlight on with Atlanta, I think Atlanta's kind of getting ready to mix, getting ready. They made some changes.
Yeah.
They got the biggest one is DeAndre Hunter, and I think we brought up, a couple episodes ago talking about what's the move for Atlanta, going forward. Are they going to kind of be buyers or sellers at the deadline? It kind of seems like they've been sellers in a sense. They got rid of Bogdanovich, they got rid of Hunter, but they've also kind of gotten a good haul going forward into the future as well.
Yeah.
But I think going into the offseason, I think they'll address some more concerns as well. But I just want to jump real quick. Sure. I don't mean to kind of skip over this trade.
You're good.
Because I kind of forgot Atlanta does one more trade as well.
Yeah.
They don't get anything in this return. They just get rid of Cody Zeller and a 2028 second round pick that the Rockets originally traded back for. And again, that's going to the Rockets. You know, you offload Cody Zeller, who was just kind of old at that point.
Yeah, he's just sitting there.
He's just sitting there. You kind of have to give him a second-round pick as well. You don't get anything. But, again, that's fine. It's fine. You got a haul of second-round picks to get. So that's fine. You're getting rid of some older talent. Or not older talent, but you're getting rid of some talent that had a little more assets. Or, like, trade. What's the word I'm looking for? Like trade
value.
Is that what you're saying? I guess. But yeah, so I think Atlanta's kind of looking more towards the future now. So I think they were kind of sellers at the deadline.
Yeah.
But I think the offseason they're kind of going to be busy too.
Yeah,
so it's interesting to see what they do.
It's very interesting because you bring in a lot of new guys. So we in the last 3 trades that we just discussed, you brought in Terrence Mann, Bones Hyland, Karis LeVert, George Niang. I'm not confused at what's going on, but like, it kind of seems a little random. Like, you're fixing your depth, right?
These aren't going to be guys to get you over the hump, though.
So
that's why I'm kind of thinking they're more sellers. You know, especially getting rid of DeAndre Hunter, or like Bogdanovich.
I don't know. But it's just like the old Hawks are kind of out and new Hawks are coming in. So I don't know. It's not going to change your team too much. Again, I don't hate it. Bones Hyland is my favorite piece of this. I think that
very underrated player
that no one really talks about too much. So he'll sit behind Trae Young, and he'll get some experience watching someone who can shoot the ball a lot.
Right.
And on games where Trae Young doesn't play, which there isn't too many games where he doesn't play.
Yeah.
But in games that he doesn't play, Bones Hyland will shine.
Right.
So, not much to it. That's basically it for those trades. Yeah. And I like, obviously, getting rid of Cody Zeller because he's just
offload that, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But moving on, the 3-team trade right here. Washington's been really busy at the trade deadline.
Yes, they have.
And they come back again. Washington's going to acquire Marcus Smart, Colby Jones, Alex Len, and a 2025 first-round pick from the Grizzlies.
Damn.
In return, Memphis is going to get Marvin Bagley III, Johnny Davis, and a 2028 second-round pick from the Kings. And in return, the Kings are going to get Jake LaRavia.
LaRavia, I guess.
LaRavia.
I don't know.
I mean, Marcus Smart gets moved again. I love Marcus Smart, so I think
it's a good piece.
I think it's a good piece for Washington, but I think this is something that isn't necessarily going to be someone they move on to in the future. Same thing with someone like Alex Len or Colby Jones. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily going to be there going forward, part of that rebuild, but I think the biggest piece that Washington is going to get out of this is acquiring that first-round pick from the Grizzlies that they can use forward to this draft. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them.
Yes,
you get another first-round pick, which will probably be maybe a lottery pick.
They will.
Which for them.
But it's the Grizzlies though. They might be.
Where are they sitting at right now in terms of the standings?
I don't know.
I know they're not too. I'll look very quickly. I know they've kind of had their troubles, but
they have. My guess mid. They're probably in the middle.
Probably. Let's look in terms of.
I'm really curious about that though, because that kind of like sways me whether if I like Washington winning this trade or Memphis. So, we're terribly wrong, man. They're like top of the league, right?
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
So this is actually not that great. I was thinking this is going to be a lottery pick.
Still a first though.
It's still a first. They're actually currently second in the West. They're 35-16, so they're a little better. Than I imagined them to be. That's my fault. I didn't realize the record was as bad. I haven't checked the standings. Call me a slacker, but
it's fine, man. It's fine.
But it's fine. But anyways, you still get a first round pick, though. It's a first round pick.
At the end of the day,
you'll take what you can get. You can take what you get when you're poverty franchise like Washington.
Yeah.
You get Marcus Smart, who maybe is another asset that you move in the off season.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's a party rebuild. I don't know. I don't think
probably not
anything else really matters besides that first round pick. Memphis. Marvin Bagley is going to be a good depth piece.
It's a good piece.
Behind Jaren Jackson Jr. I like that as well. Johnny Davis is going to be some more depth. Sacramento, Jake LaRavia. Cool.
Yeah, my reaction, cool. Good trade.
Sure.
Marcus Smart's obviously he's a locker room guy, right?
Absolutely.
So he'll be someone to help build chemistry on your team and make the room feel more, I don't know. I mean, right now it doesn't feel like Washington is really an ideal place to be,
right?
For the team. So Marcus Smart's one of those guys where it's like he's gonna make friends with anyone there.
Absolutely.
And obviously he's a veteran presence.
Absolutely.
So it's not a terrible trade for Washington. Again, I'm just still confused the direction of where the team is going. But you know what?
It's an at least they're making moves.
At least they're doing.
At least
something.
they're trying.
Yeah.
At least they're trying. So maybe it'll work out for them. We'll see. But moving on. Again, the Clippers have kind of been busy this trade deadline too. Same as Milwaukee. Trade between those two teams. The Clippers. Excuse me if I pronounce his last name wrong or his name wrong. Arjun Beauchamp.
Yeah, sounds
Beauchamp. Goes to the Clippers in return. Milwaukee gets Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. goes back to Milwaukee. Again, good. I think it's a good depth piece for Milwaukee. I like that a lot. Kevin Porter Jr. I think he left Milwaukee. I think he had issues there where he was kind of sounding off. And that's why he left. But he's going back. Kevin Porter. He's been averaging a little under 10 points a game, about 3.5 rebounds, about 3 assists. So nothing too crazy, but again,
better than Beauchamp.
Yeah,
Beauchamp, whatever.
However you pronounce his name, but yeah, I guess again this is more depth piece for Milwaukee. So I guess this is good. They're going to be contending for the title.
Well,
so.
yeah. I mean, you totally upgrade. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. is a better depth piece than Beauchamp is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the league 5 years, so he has a little bit more experience than MarJon, who's been in the league for 3. But I mean, like their stats are not even close. This got to be like shedding money for the Clippers. But I don't know about you, but Kevin Porter Jr. just feels like the most Bucks player that I could think. Like this makes so much sense. I can picture him as a Buck.
Yeah.
So I mean, good move for the Bucks. I mean, they're always going to contend, in the playoffs. So getting these guys, good, it works out. It works out.
Yep. The last trade that I have on the CBS article, but I'm going to go back and look at Sham's Twitter to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yep.
Is Toronto and Indiana. Again, Toronto's been another kind of busy team. Indiana's not going to get anything, but they're going to give up James Wiseman and some cash consideration. So, that's another good piece for Toronto potentially. James Wiseman, it kind of sucks. He was the second overall pick just a couple seasons ago. And, he's kind of gotten bounced around the league a little bit. And now he's getting moved just for some cash consideration. It's kind of unfortunate to see.
Kind of sucks, yeah.
It kind of does. I hope he can shine in Toronto, but...
Shine is such like a... That's so hard to accomplish.
It is hard to accomplish,
for him.
For him. And again, like... I hope he plays well in Toronto. I hope it works out, but... I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
No, I like it, though, because it's like... Toronto takes a chance on a guy who was the... Second overall pick?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you never know.
Right.
You don't lose anything, so that, honestly, it doesn't hurt you.
Right.
So,
right.
There's nothing really to it.
No.
I like it. You're taking a chance. That's all.
Right.
Shams doesn't seem to have any other news, so it seems like that's kind of the wrap on
There was some. I think there were some tweets that
there might be
that he posted. I just want to kind of go through this and scroll real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
That I missed from that CBS might have missed. I think the first one that I'm seeing kind of goes back into the Jimmy Butler trade because that was kind of a really confusing one where different pieces were getting moved around.
Yeah.
It ends up getting updated. So part of the deal, Lindy Waters III and Josh Richardson are actually going to be going to Detroit.
Oh, for real?
They're going to Detroit in that. And Dennis Schroeder goes to Utah. And Kyle Anderson goes to Toronto. But something that ends up getting updated is Dennis Schroeder is actually going to be going to Detroit. So he's getting passed around quite a bit.
I think that's what CBS was doing, though. I think they updated it. So Schroeder, for example, he ends up on Detroit.
Oh, I see that now. But wait, did Josh Richardson... Oh, so he must have got traded again.
Yeah, I think he got traded again to Utah.
Okay.
So CBS is right, but... Like Connor just said,
I see. Yeah, it's just not like
these guys have more of a path than just directly to these teams. So it's just worth noting that. That's all.
Right. Yeah. So Miami, they end up keeping Kyle Anderson. Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool. Was there anything else I'm missing? I'm just scrolling through real quick just to make sure we got everything.
Other than just like some depth pieces being signed, there's not really too much.
I think that's probably it. I just didn't think that they had touched on the Dennis Schroeder to Detroit, but I forgot that they kind of just included that already in there. So
yeah, No, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's about it. That's it for the trade deadline. Then I mean, again, how many All-Stars got traded here?
Dude, is 9
like
you
8
said?
or 9. Yeah, there's a graphic
like
that we'll pull up too with just the the big stars.
It's the thumbnail.
We'll make that the thumbnail. Just the big stars that got traded. It's a lot. It's a lot of movement around the league.
It's interesting too. What's your favorite trade of these bunch?
In terms of,
I don't know, just like fairness, value, just like whatever one you're like, wow, that is a unique, interesting trade that you just did not expect. We're gonna keep out the Luka trade.
Besides the Luka trade, okay.
We're gonna keep that out of here.
I think my favorite probably is the De'Aaron Fox trade. I mean, that's the second biggest one. I like that one a lot. De'Aaron Fox is gonna go get paired up with Wemby. I love that for the Spurs. The Spurs, are making some really good moves. They kept that young core as well. Again, Chris Paul is going to be there kind of as a mentor. He's not going to be there forever, but I like that. I like this a lot for the Spurs. I think they're starting to trend themselves into a good direction of being, playoff contending teams every year. And eventually they're going to kind of continue to build that team a little more. Get more assets, and they're gonna start making their way to the title picture in the next coming seasons because you've got your good young core, Fox, and you've got Wemby there.
It's true.
I like this a lot. I like that a lot. Another one we talked about was the Hornets and the Lakers trade. Mark Williams, goes to the Lakers. They get that big man depth that they were really hoping for. And Charlotte gets some good assets back in Cam Reddish and Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
Those are ones that are I think the biggest winner.
Those are fun.
They're fun. I think the biggest winner for me is the Lakers, and
Obviously.
even just the Luka trade.
Even if that was the only trade.
Even if that was the only trade, no matter what, you win.
Yeah.
You win that.
And I get it. Yeah.
And then just also getting Mark Williams too, like. The Lakers are setting themselves up really well. I like that a lot for them. But I can't think of a team. I'm trying to think of a team top of my head that kind of lost a trade deadline. I mean,
not really.
Maybe Washington. I mean,
They had some
kind of confusing.
Moves, yeah.
I mean, they offloaded some guys that they were probably trying to get rid of, but it's not like you brought anyone in incredible. I guess you got some first round picks back, but
if that's the plan, then you did what you needed to do. But
yeah,
I don't know if I love it.
I don't know if I love it. I can't necessarily think of one specific loser of the trade deadline in my mind.
Yeah.
I guess Dallas, actually. What am I saying? Dallas. You traded. What am I saying? That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah, you're
Dallas.
Right. I know.
Besides that, though,
I was trying to exclude it. Yeah.
But I guess Dallas would be the biggest loser because you got rid of Luka. You got AD though, so I can't necessarily. It's not terrible. It doesn't suck. Yeah. You got rid of Luka, so.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
So this was a fun trade deadline.
I like it a lot. I was gonna say my sneaky fun one that I'm like, wow, I like that a lot is Toronto acquiring Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love him as a player, to be completely honest.
He's really good.
And I was talking about how this kind of hurts for New Orleans to move on from him. But you know what? He's gonna be a Raptor, and I think he'll do pretty well on the team. That's my favorite one. Yeah. Besides the ones that you named. That's my favorite one.
Do you have, besides maybe kind of who I said, do you have a big winner or a big loser of the trade deadline?
I would agree with most of the takes that you had. Washington, it's confusing. Obviously, Dallas.
Yeah.
If there's a big winner, it's got... The thing is, I don't think there is a big winner. I think a lot of the trades that we just discussed in this episode, pretty even.
Yeah.
I mean, the question kind of answers itself, though. The Lakers won this trade.
Yeah.
Or won this deadline, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Other than that, all the rest were kind of fair.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for more at the same time, but no one really made out with anything crazy.
No, I mean,
Milwaukee did pretty decent today.
Milwaukee did. They get some more depth.
Porter Jr., Kuzma.
Yep, I like that a lot.
I like those picks. Yeah.
Jericho Sims. Sacramento was another sneaky one that I like there. You get LaVine, you get Valanciunas as well. Again, the Spurs, you get De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
Even just that
is
awesome. Other than that, I mean, sure, Golden State gets Jimmy Butler, but I can't necessarily say that they're winners of the trade deadline.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll have to see.
We'll see. We'll see, kind of how everything unfolds and the value that each team gets throughout the rest of the season, and, we'll see how they pan out going to the playoffs or in the offseason. But,
yeah,
like I said, I think definitely up front, biggest winner, the Lakers.
Yep. I would agree with you on
there.
I
like that a lot. Again, fun trade deadline, a lot to unfold here. And again, we're going to have to see how the rest of the season goes on.
For sure.
For these moves. But it's going to be fun. A lot of All-Stars get moved, so it's going to be a good shake-up.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I'm excited to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
So, I mean, that's going to wrap it up for the NBA trade deadline video. Fun episode. I mean, we had fun discussing the trades. These are raw reactions. So, I mean, we saw some of the names. This is raw reactions to what we think of each trade. As always, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what your favorite trade is and who you think won and lost this trade deadline. And if you never saw the Luka video, go check that out because we give 5 reasons why Luka was traded from the Mavericks. And other than that, follow our socials. The links will be in the description. And we will all see you in our next episode number technically 14 if you don't count this. If you count this as a podcast episode, this is episode 13. It doesn't either matter. We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one, guys.